iShowSpeed, is he natural or not? Is Speed up on them steroids? Yeah.
I'm just iShowSpeed. I show up with speed, and muscle will probably just slow me down. Is it possible that he succumbed to the temptations of using performance-enhancing drugs in order to put on this muscle more quickly? Well, maybe.
Let's see. Bro, before we get into the video, I want to say if I believe that Speed is on steroids or not.
Coach Greg, in today's video, it's a natty or not on none other than iShowSpeed, one of the most popular video creators in the world, a man who's extremely athletic. Bro is doing backflips. He's taking on the fastest men in the world. Bro can sprint like no other. But has he succumbed to the pressure, the temptation to use performance-enhancing drugs? Now, the reason comes up is a recent before and after transformation, of which it reveals he's put on 15 pounds of muscle. In order to do a proper transformation, we have to look, did he suddenly put on a ton of muscle? If he put on 15 pounds of muscle and it's a matter of a couple of months.
Is that a donut dick? What?
Not looking good for him. But if it happens slowly,
did he eat this
over the course of a year, perhaps a year and a half, then of course that makes sense. Formerly, we've seen that iShowSpeed does in fact go to the gym. We've seen him try to lift crazy amounts of weights, for example, getting stuck with 2 plates on each side on the bench press, as if he could bench press that much. And as well as properly performing squats, basically ego lifting in the gym. But consider this, he's only just turned 20 years of age. It's not as if he's been going to the gym consistently for years. Had he been in the gym training 4 or 5 days a week for the last 5 years and suddenly put on 15 pounds of muscle, that would have been highly sus. But since he only goes to the gym sporadically, if he suddenly decides to train and dedicate himself, you would realize that he still has newbie gains left in the tank. The more often you train, the longer you've trained, the less likely you are to put on 15 pounds of muscle. But if you're brand new to the gym and you haven't trained very often, then you're much more likely to achieve this. Considering he's only 20 years of age, it means bro is a teenager. And one thing I want to educate you on is guys who can sprint predominantly have fast twitch muscle fibers. There are slow twitch muscle fibers and fast twitch. Guys who are good at marathon running, cardiovascular endurance athletes typically have more slow twitch fibers, while sprinters have more fast. And what you need to know is fast twitch muscle fibers, those are the ones that can very easily get bigger. If you had a group of athletes, marathon runners in comparison to sprinters, for example, the 100-meter dash, if you took these two groups and you put them into the gym, the sprinters by a mile are going to put on way more muscle. That's because of genetics. Sprinters, those with more fast twitch muscle fibers, can much more easily put on muscle. And as you know, iShowSpeed, he's legit very, very fast. He's raced the world's fastest man in the 100-meter dash. I believe it was in a 60-meter dash. And yeah, he got beat, but not by a lot. He was an elite sprinter in high school, and although he rarely even practiced for this, he can sprint faster than you can believe. Coupled with the fact that we've seen him do backflips, he's basically a gymnast without even practicing, that he can sprint this quickly, he has to have predominantly fast twitch muscle fibers. Therefore, I do believe that if he were to dedicate himself to the gym, he very easily could put on muscle. It's very common for guys who are sprinters to then go on to be very good bodybuilders. For example, Ian Valeri was a sprinter in high school. He turned IBU pro, and the list goes on and on. And so what we know is he potentially does have the genetics to put on a lot of muscle. Looking at his physique in the before photo.
Dang, hold up, bro. This transformation, the transformation is crazy in itself, but the timeline is really where it's like, is this a couple months in between or is this a couple years in between? Because if this is a couple years in between, all right, he's definitely natural. But if this like 3 months or 2 months, and this is the difference, like 15 pounds of muscle in 2 months, he's definitely taking something. he's definitely taking something. Like, there's no doubt about it. But if this like a year and a half, or like not a year and a half, a year in between. If this is a year in between these pictures, he's natural.
He doesn't appear to be all that large. But notice he's very lean. He has a six-pack. He has very good definition. The shoulders appear to be well-formed. He has biceps. He's simply not working on this. He probably has a shit diet. He probably doesn't train very often in the gym. This is him doing nothing. Very comparable to a guy that we all know. His name is Hussein Farhat. Did you not see his before? When you look at his before, does it ooze a guy that you think would be potentially a future IFBB pro? I don't think so, but he wasn't using his physique, and so you couldn't see his potential. Oftentimes, many athletes, if they sit dormant, they don't do anything, they're not actively lifting weights, they're basically just sitting back, playing video games and so on, you don't know the potential that they have. You perhaps can see if they have great bone structure, a smaller waist, wider shoulders. For example, David Lade, we saw when he was young, he was very, very lean, but he did in fact have a small waist. And so we didn't know his potential. Hussein Farhat then trained for perhaps 3 years, put on almost 40 pounds of muscle. And so you don't, in fact, know the potential that you may, in fact, possess until you've put several years into the gym. And so if you are skinny right now, you look in the mirror, you're not impressed with your physique, it doesn't mean you can't do something about it. You never know unless you try. In the after photo, notice how he has significantly more muscle. His delts have grown, the chest well-formed, he has striations inside, the arms have gotten bigger, and he has a well-pronounced six-pack. Very difficult to tell, but it does look like he does have improved size in his quads, and he does have bigger calves. But remember, he's covering up his legs with his shorts, and so it's very difficult to tell. Now, of course, I realize that the lighting is better in the after than in the before, but it's very easy to tell that he has put on significant size. It does look very suspicious. How did he put on that much muscle? One thing I want to bring your attention to is, I'm sorry to say it, but let's look at his nips. Zooming in, it does appear that he has rather puffy and or droopy nips. And it
Wait, is it like that in the before?
I'm sorry to say it, but let's look at his nips.
They're kind of pudgy on the left side too, though.
Zooming in, it does appear that he has rather puffy and or droopy nips. This may in fact be a sign of gynecomastia. It's formation of breast tissue in males. When you take, for example, testosterone, some of it converts to estrogen. Estrogen, a female hormone, that is what produces the breast tissue development that you see in females. And so if guys take a lot of testosterone, some of it converts to estrogen, and one of the side effects that men dread, they hate, is the development of gynecomastia. Many people think that when you take steroids, most of the muscle develop, it's in the traps and the deltoids. I personally don't believe this to be true. In some people, sure. Some people who go on steroids, most of the muscles they're building, it's in the traps and the delts. For me, I admit I was on performance-enhancing drugs, but when I took them, this is not the muscles that grew the most. For me, it was my quads and my back. And so depending on the person, some people develop more muscle in some areas than others. But if we're looking at the traps in particular, they do look noticeably bigger. But is it not possible he's simply doing this? How hard is that? Here's my before. Here's my after. Did I just take steroids?
Yes.
No, I literally did this. And so just because you see bigger traps, it doesn't mean the person's on steroids. They could be just standing a little bit different. Do you know how easy it is to do this? Do I look like I'm uncomfortable? Do I look like I'm struggling to look like I've been on steroids for a year, blasting test trend and so on? Hey guys,
hey, Coach Greg don't want me come up out this shirt. I'ma really get nasty on you niggas. Ugh. Hold on, let me. Yeah. A little ashy and shit, you know. Ooh, hold on, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him.
Look how developed my traps are. Nope. Oh, I wasn't. It's so easy to fake things when you're taking a photo. Next, look at the sides of the delts. Do they not look a lot bigger? Absolutely. How do we know he did not spasm the side laterals for 5 minutes before taking this photo? You know how easy it is to get a pump? Whenever I do videos, I simply walk in their room and record. Many people, oh, you do push-ups, you pump up and so on. I don't care. I show up and I record. And so when I meet people in gyms, very often they say, wow, you look so much better in person. I never knew you had that much muscle. And I'm thinking, I'm in the gym. I just did a bunch of sets of chest and back and so on. And so I currently have a pump. The vascularity is poking through. You can see my leanness. I'm currently at 8% body fat. And so,
Dang.
of course, you're more impressive with a pump. iShowSpeed, most likely in this photo, in the after, he has a pump. Coupled with the fact that he's probably taking some form of a pre-workout. For example, he might have taken pre-workout pump or simply...
Look at him. Look at him. Promo in the video. It's his video. I'm gonna let him
any
rock.
pre-workout. And if there's nitrates or, for example, L-citrulline, it's going to
That was a good segue.
his muscles to
That was a
stop
good
that muscle.
segue.
How do we know he's not on Turk Builder Max? Everyone is raving about it. And so would it really be that surprising to find out that a guy like iShowSpeed or any famous influencer whatsoever would be taking this? Why would they not want that advantage? And of course, if you want to get this, code Greg 15% off. Sometimes we're in stock and sometimes we're not. And so I highly suggest you get to the website, you click on it to get notified links so that you can be notified immediately when we get it back in stock. If you don't, probably going to sell it again. You're probably going to miss it. And so click the link in the description. Next, the abdominals. Now, abdominals, they do appear to be larger and more pronounced, but listen to this. Abdominals is not a muscle that simply grows bigger, thicker by doing a bunch of sit-ups. If you look at the best abdominals in the world, typically they are not made from people who've been doing sit-ups for 20 years. My abdominals look their best, and I'm not going to debate this. It's true. They looked the best before I took steroids. After I took steroids, as in, for example, right now, as I'm on HRT, my abs look less developed, less
HRT? What is HRT?
amazing, shall we say, than when I was in my 20s, when I was 100.
Bro, what is HRT? What is HRT? What is that? Oh, hormone replacement therapy. Is that just TRT? Yeah.
100% natural. You can believe me, you cannot believe me, I don't care. 100% natural in my 20s, had amazing abdominals. Packed when I was 156 pounds. Looking crazy. 156 pounds, guys. You don't need ridiculous amounts of size to look very impressive. My abdominals look better when I was natural than when I was on steroids. And steroids, we all know, help you to build muscle. And so when I was on steroids, why wouldn't my abs have gotten better? You ever thought of that? And so I don't think by seeing larger abdominals that means he's suddenly been on steroids. More often than not, steroids are going to actually make you look more bloated, have a more puffy face. And so I don't think we can say, oh, steroids built those abdominals. One thing steroids can do is they can, in fact, make you look a lot older. We've seen that from athletes in the past. Remember, we showed Larry Wheels, for example, before steroids.
Bro, Larry Wheels look like a goddamn cutaway from SpongeBob. What the hell?
After he stopped taking steroids, it appeared that his face looked a lot younger. Notice the lines in his forehead. He's 20. Bro is only 20. Why does he look ancient? I did not have a single wrinkle in my head when I was 20 years old.
You ain't black, brother. You ain't black. Those do-rags be fucking niggas up, bro. Those do-rags be fucking... Look, I'm 23, bro. Look at these. Look at this. That's them African... That's not even African genetics. It's them do-rags, bro. The hair, bro. Do-rags be fucking up, bro.
Screaming and carrying on,
especially
to
putting your eyes up.
He certainly does not look to be look maxing. He looks older than last time. Notice the receding hairline. Bro is only 20. He's already starting to have his hair begin to recede. That
nigga do gotta this shit, you know what I'm saying?
A hairline didn't start to recede until I was in my 40s. And that's with the abuse of performance-enhancing drugs. But many
your hairline look good. What?
People, if they're susceptible to this, they will in fact start to lose their hair, and it's accelerated by using steroids. So is it not possible that he's on perhaps lower doses of steroids, perhaps even HRT, and it started to accelerate his hair loss? Now, In fairness to iShowSpeed, upon zooming in on his before photo, it does appear that his nipples do in fact have some swelling even in the before.
I said that.
Perhaps it's something he was born with. It's one of the things I pointed out with Hussein Farhad. Remember, I'm not biased to anyone. I give you my 100% honest feedback. And so when I see his nipples in the before photo, he already does appear to have some swelling. And so I think in his case, in his situation specifically, that's something that was genetic. Oftentimes, perhaps up to 5% of people, teenagers, they get gynecomastia 100% on their own. It comes not from using steroids, but perhaps just from going through puberty and so on. From the rear in the back photo, he's standing completely different. When you look at him on the left, he does appear to have decent muscle for a younger guy who hasn't really been lifting weights. And in the
he's not flexing his back, but he's standing up like structured on the right.
After photo, it's not really all that impressive. He doesn't appear to have a very small waist. He does seem to have more muscle in his shoulders, his traps, and so on, but he seems to be standing completely different. Does he not look like in the before photo he's slouching slightly forward, and the back photo he's simply holding his arms back? I don't think it's fair to say that this is an amazing, an absurd amount of muscle that could...
Yeah, his back don't look that crazy. His rear delts do look... His rear delts look uneven. His left rear delt is like pronounced, and the right one is kind of. Nah, that nigga been jorking it. Speed left-handed.
Couldn't have been done while being natural. In the calves, they do appear to be slightly larger, but I'm not seeing anything suspicious from the rear. And from the side, notice as he's standing there in the before photo, he's got slight lordosis. This is a curvature of the lower back. You can see it's almost forming an S. And so what that's causing is its stomach is protruding forward. He's standing more like that. It basically looks like there's a curve in the back here, and the stomach is coming forward, as opposed to if he didn't stick his stomach out, stood more straight, the abs would appear to be a lot flatter. And in the after, it appears as though the camera is a little bit closer. His arm seems to be closer to camera, which is making it that much...
He's fucking flexing in the right picture. You can see his tricep, bro.
Bigger. Also, he likely has a pump, and clearly there's better lighting. The downward lighting from above, it's giving him more definition. You can see well-developed triceps in the after photo, but how hard is it to flex them? Before, after. Does it really look like he had to take steroids to develop a tricep? And
somebody got that nigga Speed doing a goddamn poses, a goddamn hell. Yeah, stand like this. Make sure your tricep pop out a little bit.
Simply flex it a little bit more. I do see additional mass, but remember, this was a...
Oh yeah, his arms are bigger, no doubt. Bro, speed is natural. He just been going to the gym, eating good, probably. But he's definitely natural.
Teenager who's just turned 20. 15 pounds of muscle. That is, in my opinion, a normal amount of development for a guy who's been training consistently in the gym for perhaps, let's say, a year with...
That's what I said!
Amazing genetics. The guy we know predominantly has fast-twitch muscle fibers. And he's basically just been touring the world, making jokes, being a funny guy, being very charismatic. And so now that he's had the chance to train in the gym, does it not make sense that that muscle mass that he has laying dormant, sitting, waiting, saying, iShowSpeed, when are you going to work out? We want to grow. Feed us some protein, some supplements, some turkesterone from the plant Ajuga turkistatica, and who knows the kind of muscle that he could develop. Based on the photos, based on his age, based on his genetics, I can't conclude that this guy is not natty. I understand the pressure to look amazing, but consider this. Does he need steroids?
Wait, did he just say he's not natty?
Based on his genetics, I can't conclude that this guy is not natty.
I can't conclude that this guy is not. Do natty or not, Quinn Stott. I honestly think he's a gifted athlete with good genetics. Probably a guy and a good trainer. Definitely natty. This is not that kind of a crazy transformation. Speed was 16 before and 20 in afters. That's the reason, man. Seems like that would be a very short video. Bro, this is pure coat. Bro is clearly on T. You're just small. LOL. What? Bro just is shit. Let me see. Is there people that think he's actually not natural? Who said he put on 15 of muscles? Any athletic dude works out and gains 15 pounds of muscle. That's crazy. My guy content from this could have been easily 3 pounds of fat and 7 pounds of muscle, 5 pounds of water. If you take creatine, that could be 7 pounds of muscle. This dude lean and athletic. Everybody be juicing because they look good. Dude played football in high school, in school too. BBC genetics. Wow, you're a moron. Delete this video. And by the way, blatantly obvious that you're on performing acid drugs. What a joke. What? Why is he so angry? I don't understand why people be so angry. Speed do got a one of those fan bases where like you can say one thing about them and niggas will just get mad. Like they'll start crying. Like it could be a complete joke. Niggas will be in the comments.
The pressure to look amazing. But consider this. Does he need steroids? He's already amassed close to 30 million followers on Instagram. He's legit running nearly as fast as the fastest man in the world without even training. And so it's almost a flex for him to say,
Noah Lyles always be crying about track and field not getting the love and the respect it deserves. But him letting Speed be that close to him in the race did more damage to that sport than anything else. Like, you should have made an example out of him.
I don't even need steroids. Bro. I don't even need SERMs. I'm just iShowSpeed. I show up with speed, and muscle will probably just slow me down.
It's hell no. I'm finna get on that TRT, D-ball, SARMs, all that shit. Fuck it. I'm finna be as big as a house.
Not as though he hasn't been growing an audience without it. And so consider this.
Then what?
If you're 100% natural and you're getting millions of followers while being natural, why would you take steroids? You're already winning in life. Does it really matter? If you're a natural athlete right now and you're doing well in your training, you're making gains, you're making progress, you're doing great on social media, why would you take steroids? Think of it. Why would you need them? And so when I was a teenager in my 20s and so on, I wasn't tempted to use steroids. I thought, why would I need them? I'm literally...
Why does this video look AI?
Winning competitions without using steroids. I am progressing. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And so why would I use them? It wasn't until I could no longer make any gains. When I reached my natural genetic potential, then I started to consider it. I didn't want to use steroids as a young athlete in my teens and 20s. I didn't need it. And so why should you? Do you really think that at 20 years of age, you've already hit your genetic limit and you can't make any improvements? And so if you're a teenager or even in your early 20s, realize how many more years you have to grow until you unlock your natural genetic potential. Now, if you decide to use steroids at some point in your life, look, I'm not going to judge you. I would be a hypocrite. I did the exact same thing, but please wait. If you're unsure, wait. If you're sure, still wait. Wait as long as humanly possible, and if you do decide to use it, please use the lowest doses that make you happy. This is what I preach. Understand the dangers, the consequences, the pros, the cons, the goods, the bad, the ugly, and make the best decision for you. Don't decide on a whim that you saw somebody use HRT, for example, Alex Eubank put on 15 pounds of muscle, and now you're going to do so as well. Please wait as long as humanly possible. Try to use the natural supplements available to you before doing anything.
All right. iShowSpeed, clearly natural athlete.